great things that he has to share. Wow, Miranda, all the way from New York. Welcome, welcome. I see some of our WIM Texas regulars are joining us as well. Angela Sloan from Kentucky. Great to have you here with us today. You can also share your LinkedIn profile link. It's a great way to connect and network with one another. Hi, Sam. Good morning.
Morning. I'm going to be off camera as I got a few things. So.
Okay, that's great. Okay, I think we can maybe give it just one more minute. Hopefully all of you are also following WIM Texas on LinkedIn, seeing the wonderful social media posts that our team led by Karen Rivera produces every day. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started with an introduction of our guest, James Tomasi Kennedy. So James is an executive career coach and is the founder of Superstar Recruitment Services. So at Superstar Recruitment, James believes that people are much happier, healthier, and that they make a bigger impact to a company's bottom line if they are doing work that they actually love. So he is on a mission to make the recruitment process simpler, faster, and fun for both companies and candidates. He does this by teaching candidates how to authentically tell their story for each job application to make it easier for hiring managers to say yes to an interview. So with that, James, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit more of about how we can go from undervalued to superstar?
Angela, I just want to say thank you so much for this amazing introduction. And ladies and gents in the room that's with me, thank you for giving up your hour. I promise to make it as impactful and give you some takeaways, actionable takeaways that you take away from this as we go through it all. And big thank you to WIM Texas for giving me this opportunity to come in as well. And obviously the glamorous assistants, Angela and Karen, for helping to support and make this happen. So I'm just going to share a screen. I'm going to got a couple of slides to talk you through. And, you know, for those of you that obviously put your information in the chat, thank you so much already. You know, here you're all giving up your time, and I'm saying where you're signing in from. It's already been done, so thank you very much for that. Right. So today's chat and what we're talking about is going from undervalued to superstar, and how to authentically tell your story on your resume. That's what we're doing today. And this shouldn't be just about me, you know, just speaking, because this is a very much an interactive, you know, interactive things, and I want to make it worth for you, because me talking doesn't mean anything. I want to make sure that this is useful for you guys that have given up your precious hour to be here today. Okay, so to do that, it'll help to say, talk a little bit myself and say, who is this crazy guy? Right, might be useful for you guys to know. And so I'm I'm an introvert. I'm a first generation immigrant from the small island of Fiji all the way to the UK. And I'm a leader, I'm a husband and a father. And if you check out my LinkedIn profile, there's this crazy guy online with a Hawaiian shirt on. I mean, how serious can you be? Right? How serious can you be with that? Right? And there's a whole reason for all of that. Because again, as someone that grew up that was an introvert, and Angela can't believe I'm an introvert because I've told her this before, right? As an introvert growing up, there was that feeling of not being good enough. There was that feeling in me, that I wasn't enough and was trying to fit in everywhere. And now after 20 years in corporate and doing a lot of crazy things all over the place, I've just realized, why am I trying to fit into everybody and what everyone is doing when I just be myself? So in terms of what I'm doing here and all, it's just I'm showing up as me. I'm crazy. I'm a bit out there. I'm different from most people, and that's okay, because we're all different from most people in our ways, right? So I try to lead by example and be authentically me. And when I tell my story and I share my story with you, this is just who I am. What you see is what you get, as I say to people. So with all of that, that's just a little background of who I am and what I do. In terms of my, career history, I've spent 20 plus years in corporate. I've managed teams. I've worked on IT projects. In the UK, they're building their first ever nuclear power station. So I've worked on IT projects for those as well. And I've also pivoted careers 8 times. And I tell people it's because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. But what I did know that in some of these roles that I was in, the question kept asking me and myself was, is this it? Is this all I've got for life? And when I had that question, I said, oh, no, there's got to be more. I took the uncomfortable step into the unknown, right? And as you can see from there, I've been laid off 3 times as well. So I know what that looks like. I've been out of work in the past for as much as 14 months, for as long as 14 months, right? So I know the pain and the shame of what most people go through, but I also know what it is to be stuck in a job and have slowly sucking the life out of you, having a job slowly sucking the life out of you every single day and feeling stuck and not know how to get out of it. So again, this is what I'm talking about in my mission and everything is coming from personal experience. As I do for you, it's coming from personal experience, and so that's how I speak and I teach. So it might seem a bit unconventional and all that, but this is what I do and this is what I work. Okay, and in terms of what I do, as Angela's already pointed out, I'm an executive career coach. I'm Angela Thurman's HR director at Thurman Co., and I'm a freelance recruiter as well. Because once you start helping candidates and helping people get jobs, in my mind, it's like, okay, Angela signed me up to be the HR director. And on the other side, I remembered the pain from a manager's perspective. And I know some of you as managers in this room, or those of you that have been involved in the recruitment process, how painful on the other side it is as well. Not just for job seekers, but for hiring managers out there, this is a painful process. So again, the reason for doing all of this, how do we make it easier? I'm also what they call a neuro-linguistic practitioner. And it means a lot of things. But for me, in simple words, for me, it's the power of words. The power of words and how we use words to make others feel better, but the power of words to make ourselves feel better as well. All right. And when I do anything in life, it's like, if you're going to do something properly. So I try to, invest in different courses, different marketing and different sales. And this is what I bring to the, when I teach and I coach and speak to people, all that learning I give to all my candidates and clients, right? So in terms of what you're going to learn today, there's elements of sales in it. And some of you like, I hate sales. I get that. That used to be me as well, right? There's elements of marketing in here. There's elements of storytelling, and there's elements of psychology, right? And all of this is, again, to make people, help people tell the authentic story. Now, I want to just highlight that I don't write resumes for people, okay? Because I'm a big believer, the only one that can tell your story and give your story justice is yourselves. So what I do is I'm providing frameworks, and we're going to learn one of the frameworks today as I talk through this. That's going to help you with this as well, okay? So I'm planning to speak for about another 25 minutes, give you some information, and there's going to be time for some Q&A. And so, okay, throw me your questions. Give me your questions. I love it. So give me that and bring that on to the end as well. Okay. Back to my slides. So, all of this is great, but I always say to people, this is great, but so what, right? There has to be a so what, because you guys, your time is the most precious thing. So if you're going to be here with me, how is this going to be good? How is this going to be helpful for any of you? I started my business at the best time ever, in the middle of the pandemic, right? Everyone's losing jobs, and it's like, okay, I'm going to be a career coach. This sounds great, right? But since the middle of the pandemic, I've helped almost 200 candidates all over the world, from graduates all the way up to senior directors, land better jobs in 25 different countries all over the world. And people tell me, there's different countries have different cultural, there's cultural nuances in each country. And I said, yes, there's cultural nuances. But in every single country, most hiring managers hate the hiring process, right? And so I was saying is, forget about what's different. Try and find out what's common in every single country. And this is what I'm coming to do here with all of you today, and share you some tips to go with this as well, right? So in terms of what I do and my community and what we're trying to do, we're trying to empower the undervalued introverts. That was me. That was me one of the things, not knowing how to tell my story. I'm an immigrant as well, so I put that in there, right? And it's all about discovering confidently, transition into their dream career. Because I believe, we do a lot of things. But when you love a job that you do, that's where the magic happens, right? And I'm crazy about, recruitment. I'm crazy about resumes and interviews. Like most people hate it. I'm crazy about it because it's a process like anything else. How can you make it easier? That's all I'm interested in. It's a process, right? My background's in project management and process improvement. I look at the whole process. That's process improvement and lean. All of this is for you ladies in manufacturing and you gents in manufacturing. This is bread and butter for us, right? And we use it for other people's processes and companies' processes, but we don't look at it and turn it inwards and look at ourselves. And it's all the same thing. And the reason why I want to do this, and I'm crazy enough to, Simon Sinek says, starts with why, right? I want to break the cycle. Because what I've learned is that when people struggle to articulate and market themselves on a piece of paper, it impacts so many different areas of our life. But when we struggle with it as well, future generations are going to struggle with it as well, right? And my dream and my goal and what I'm doing here is to level the playing field for everybody. How can we go from just surviving to thriving, right? From low self-confidence, talking about me here, right? I don't know about you, but this is me, and undervalued to a badass superstar. Because if you're here today, I want to challenge you and tell you are a badass. You are a superstar because you're here and you want to improve and learn something different, because what you're doing is, obviously not working. You guys think, right? So that's why you're here. I want to disrupt the recruitment process. Because for those of you that's managing, that's one of the worst processes that I've had to deal with, right? And Angela knows when I had to review some resumes for project managers, it's like, oh my goodness, I want to help everybody, but they got to be able to help themselves. So this is the why, and this is what we do. So, slide, there we go. So I come with a warning label, a huge warning label, people, right? And basically, if you hang out with me for too long, I'm going to brainwash you. I'm going to brainwash you into believing in yourself and knowing you can achieve anything. So I'm telling you that up front. At the same time, I want to say to you guys, trust the process. I'm all about process, and I've refined this process before coming to you today with people from all over the world. So I believe and I know it works. And I also want to say is like, Yes, I can seem a bit high energy and a bit wacky for some people. And I want to tell you is there is a method to all the process. There's a method to the madness, and there's a madness in the process. So that's what we're doing here today. So first question for you, and please tell me in the chat, right? There's only us in here. So my question for you is, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being amazing, how would you rate your CV or resume right now? Just a number, right? Put in the chat. Let me know, please. I'm watching the chat now. So Tanya says 5. Miranda says 7. Thank you very much. Anybody else play along? Laurie says 7. I've got a 4 in there as well. Thank you, Jennifer. Karen says 5. 7, 8, 4. Thank you very much. 7. Brilliant. Brilliant. So I've got a low as a 4. Thank you for playing, everyone that's showing. A low as a 4 and a high as an 8, I think, right? If I haven't missed anyone. And what I want to say to you all is that in my experience of speaking to candidates all over the world, I've spoken to generals in the military, I've spoken to heads of state departments, and I've had, you know, all these amazing people all over the world. I've spoken to them. And the average I get is a 6 or a 7 on CV resume, their own document. All these high level people and their documents are 6 or 7, and they rated it themselves, right? And my question I say to everyone, whatever the number that you've put down, why is it not a 9 or a 10? It's your document. You should be proud of that document. It should be a celebration of your life's work, right? And I say to people is, how do you expect the hiring manager? How do we expect the hiring manager to see something higher than a 4, a 5, 6, or 7, or 8 if we can't see it for ourselves? Something to think about, right? It has to be a celebration of you. And when I speak to people, it's like, look, we can't control where they're going to get the interviews or all of those things, but we should be able to control the story that we write on our own document. And we should be feeling good about it. And if you're not, and that's okay, right? Because I've had people come to me and they tell me they feel 0 about their resume because they haven't done it for so long and they're feeling overwhelmed. And the people that have been in the same company for 20 plus years, why would they need a resume? Okay, so like I said, I've seen it all and say, whatever the number is, that's your baseline. So please remember your number as we go through this, because we're going to come back to it at the end. All right, so here's a question. How many of you have heard of the STAR format? Let me know in the chat, please. How many of you have heard of the STAR format? What is the STAR format? Have I missed a? I haven't, okay. Heard of something similar. Yes, it's very similar. There's different ways to do things out there, right? The STAR format is normally a framework you can use in an interview on how to tell a story. Talks about the situation, talks about the task, the action, and what you did to fix it, then the result. It's a great for a framework to use in an interview. It's because it keeps you on track and it stops you from rambling. Interviews is not a normal conversation. So for a lot of people, it makes them nervous, right? So Tanya remembers it now. Great, right? And so it's normally for the interview on how you tell your story. But today I'm going to tell you, we're going to call it the superstar method, right? Because that's what I call it. It's the superstar method. And when I talk to people about the superstar method, what I'm telling people is this. You want to think of a job description as a list of problems. A job description is simply a list of problems. Now, yourselves as the candidates, your mission and what you're supposed to do is to convince the hiring manager that you are the best person to come in and fix those problems for them, right? That's what we're looking to do here. And the way we do that is to understand their problems and to show them how you've solved similar problems in the past. Because when you can show how you've solved similar problems in the past, makes it easier for the hiring manager to connect and see how you can come and solve their problems. Does that make sense? Right? That's your problem. This is a similar problem I've solved. And this is what we're doing here. Okay, so that's the framework for the superstar. And I'm going to just break it down even further and put an example. Yes, thank you, Karen. Connect the dots for them. All right, so situation. This is one, oh, sorry. This is one of my clients. And I get them to tell the story, right? And so she's telling a problem. And so in this here, the problem, okay, is just a little backstory. This lady is an administrative assistant is a job title. Okay, working in in shipping.
Okay.
Administrative assistant.
I will email Joseph.
Administrative assistant working in shipping, right? So it's an admin. It's as low level as you can get. But look at the story that we worked together and we wrote out, right? So the problem was they were receiving from the sales team contracts of up to 300 million euros. And this was sometimes incorrect and could take up to 2 hours to resolve. Okay, that's the picture. Paint me the picture of the moving parts and what's happening. And then from there, should we talk about that's the situation. The next one is, what did you have to do? What's the objective? And again, we're just storytelling here. And so she was looking at ways on how to make the process more efficient and also get it right the first time. Then there talks about the actions, and the actions all about how you fixed it, all the different things that you did to fix the problem. That's great. Okay. Now, the third thing I was going to talk to people is all about the so what. Oh, goodness. So what, right? So when I talk to people about so what, here she talks about reducing the processing time from up to 2 hours down to 30 minutes on each contract on average. Improve the customer service and improve the training and understanding of the process between departments. Okay, so these are some of the results that she got from doing this process. The question I have for all of you, and please put in the chat, my question for all of you today, what do you think? Have a think about, what do you think, everyone? What are the 3 most common things that all businesses need to survive? Let me know in the chat. What do you think? Money. Miranda says money. Thank you, Miranda. Revenue. Angela, what else? People. Thank you very much for that, right? So each company, we need people to survive. Great. What else we got? What else does a company need to survive? Revenue, people, customers. Thank you, Yolanda. What else you got? What you got for me? All right. Any business, doesn't matter. Efficiency. Thank you, Jennifer. What else you got? All right. A business, any business. Strong processes. Thank you, Tonya. We definitely need strong processes. Right. Process improvements. Thank you, Angela. Right. Leadership. Oh, yes, we definitely need leadership. Thank you, Jessica. Right. Teamwork, results. Love it. Love it. Thank you very much. Cost savings. Amazing. Thank you, Moreno. Right. All important things. All important things. Now, when I speak to people, I would say the 3 things that you want to be highlighting on your resume that's common in every single business. First off is revenue. Every company out there, regardless of where you are, needs revenue to survive. The second one, process improvements. Because when you can do the process, cost savings, as you can do the process in half the time, you're saving both time and money. Everybody, every business needs that out there. The third one for every business that everyone seems to forget, regulatory compliance. Because if you're a legal business anywhere in the world, there you have legislation, there's legislation you have to adhere to. And if you don't do that, you get fined, right? So in even simpler terms, everyone, for any business out there, the 3 things they have in common is that they need to be making money, they need to be saving money, or they need to avoid paying money out. So at the end of the day, it's all about money. So when when you write down your examples and you write this out there, it needs to connect to one of those 3 pillars, because that's the common thing in any business. So for those of you looking to transition, show me how you've solved a similar problem, even if it's a different industry, and connect it to one of those 3 pillars. When you do that as a hiring manager on the other side, there you go, Karen, thank you. Make money, save money, prevent the money going out as well, right? Those are the 3 common things in any business. When you show me your achievement of the problem that you've solved, and you connect it to one of those 3 pillars, I can, as a hiring manager, connect and see how you can come and do that for me. Okay, so that's the so what. As I said to you did this, so what? And all of us are good at showing, oh, I did this KPI and I fixed this. Right? So what? Connected to one of those three things that's common in any business, and they can see how you can help them. Check the time as well. So that's that. Now, this is how you put it together, okay? Because we've written the story out, and this is how we put it together. Now, what I'm showing you here is two sentences. I'm showing you two sentences in the storytelling. What I've done here is I've talked about the first one is the problem. And when I say the before you, right? This is the problem. We're painting the picture before you. The second sentence afterwards is after you, right? Before you, after you. You're the common denominator. You're the superstar. You're the one they need. But you have to show me and paint a picture of how bad it was beforehand so I can appreciate how you can come and help me here. Okay, so just to give you some more background, what I'm telling to people on your resume or where you put things out there is you have a profile statement talking about you, and then you can call this a key achievements or career highlights. It's just word, use it there. But this is a highlights from your entire career. And you're understanding the job descriptions list of problems, you're highlighting the keywords from there. So I put process improvements, a keyword from the job description. And you're telling me a story of the problem beforehand and the problem that was fixed, right? And so this might seem simple, everyone, but there's a lot of hidden psychology and nuances and strategy behind all of this, okay? So the first sentence, right? First of all, it's process improvements, all right? And it's in bold. Now, I want to say this to people. A job description, like any company out there, have their own company jargon. How they say things in every single company is different. One would say process improvements, and a different company might say process efficiency. Use their language to your advantage, right? It doesn't matter what you call it. It matters what the company calls it. So this could be process improvements. Another company might call it process efficiency. We know it's all the same thing, but change the language to match their language. Now, what happens here from a human perspective, they're speaking my language, right? And when someone's speaking our language, it's easier for us as the hiring manager to connect with them. Make the process easier for everyone, regardless of whether it's the hiring manager or recruiters or someone in HR. Make it easy for everyone. When you're using the same language, it makes it so much easier. And again, I've called it a signposting because you're using the keyword from the job description and you're putting it in there. Okay, process improvements, great. Now you tell me a story about process improvement you've done in the past. Now, everything highlighted in blue is what I call an action verb, right? Designed and implemented a new sales process, which is taking up to 2 hours for contracts up to 300 million euros. Hopefully all of you can see, wow, that was a huge problem, right? And then you talk about optimize the entire procedure by 70%, gaining buy-in from key stakeholders and minimum disruption to the business, right? Magic. How many hiring managers want, improve processes by 75% and gaining buy-in? Because most of you understand, for those of you in manufacturing and change, the process is not the problem. The process is getting everyone to buy into the new change of way to do things. That's what the challenges are, right? And minimum disruption to the business. Oh my gosh, yes, please, because we're busy. So yes, bring in the change, but make sure it doesn't mess up everybody else as well, right? So here's a question for all of you. Now, there's a couple other bits I want to highlight, but I want to ask you a question in the chat and let me know. In this process, we've talked about, from the star format, we've talked about the problem, right? There's a bit about the objective in there, and we talked about the result. Talked about the problem. First one is the problem. Last sentence is the result. What's missing, everyone? What's missing from this story? The action, says Karen. Yes? The how. How the heck did you do that? Here's another question for everyone. And it's not in the resume. Where does the how show up? Where does the hiring manager get to know about the how? Where does the recruiter get to know about the how? during the interview. What's the part of our resume? Get you in the interview to close the door. Right, to close the deal, sorry, close the door, close the deal, right? The whole point of it is, tell me your story. Tell me how you can help me. And what I want to say to you, to everyone as well, just to highlight, in here, there's nothing that's saying, I'm hardworking. I've got attention to detail. I'm a great team worker. None of those things, because I say to people, none of it makes sense, makes any sense, because those types of words, as great as they are, you can transfer it from one resume to another, and it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't tell me anything about you. You know, I tell people all the time, a responsibilities in the job. You don't own it. The responsibilities come with the job. And you as the person holding the job, when you move to another role, the next person gets exactly the same responsibilities. Responsibilities don't make you stand out. That's just what the job's expecting you to do. But when you tell me how you've solved problems, when you tell me how you've made a difference, and you manage to put this on a piece of paper, what you're doing here is you're not telling me anymore, you're showing me. You're showing me this. And what I want to say here, these stories that are yours, are uniquely yours. Nobody else can take the story away from you, because you helped to root this, you know, and said process improvements in there. And you know, there's another thing there. There's the before process improvements, the little check mark or tick mark, as we say in the UK, right? The check box says, I need someone to come in and help with process improvement. It's what I call ninja tricks, right? It's a little, you know, visual. Say, yes, I've got process improvements. Yes, I've got stakeholder engagement. Yes, I got team builder, right? It's very subtle, but also very, very powerful, especially when you see it as part of the whole, you know, resume. And what we're doing here, when I speak to people, like, you don't have to tailor your whole resume, people, right? Who's got time to tailor the whole resume? We don't. But what you need to be tailoring for each job you apply for is the career highlights. Think of this as the summary, like, or the executive summary or something on a book, right? Think about it. As humans, we pick up a book. If we look at the summary at the back and it doesn't resonate, how likely are we to want to read more of that book if the summary doesn't resonate? Not very well, right? For most people, I said, I mean, there's some wacky people like me that do things differently, but I'm saying majority of people, if it doesn't resonate, we're more likely to pass it on, especially from a hiring manager's perspective, when they've got thousands of resumes to review, sometimes just for one role. And it's painful for the hiring manager. So when you can show me how you've solved similar problems to mine, you will stand out for most of the resumes under there that it's, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's not good enough. It's a competitive market, so it needs to be a 9 or 10, right? But you need to, it's a 9 or 10 for you, right? And that's what we're talking about. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so the benefits of this method as well. It highlights the best of you up front. We don't talk about any dates here, right? Regardless of when you did it, it's all about the relevance to the role. As a hiring manager, look, I don't know when you did it, right? But you give me the best of you up front. So if I only read the summary, I have enough information to make a decision on whether I shortlist you for the interview or not. What it does as well is showcases the best of you before we get to the career history section, the career experience section. And what that means is some people have gaps. Some people have a job that they don't want to highlight well, right? You get to drive the conversation and drive the story where you want them to see first before the chronological order of our career, right? It helps to lead the conversation where it is you want to go before the interview itself. Okay, so that's what we're doing there. Now, just on what we've just talked about here, on a scale of 1 to 10, just on that little bit of information, can you give me 2 numbers in the chat on how, first number, yes, sneaky psychological trick, says Karen, right? Give me 2 numbers in the chat, just on what you do. I know there was a lot of information there. I'll try to condense as much as possible and give us time for examples after. Give me 2 numbers in the chat. First number is how you originally thought about it and knowing what you know now. Yes, it needs to be put into it. What's your second number? Just on what you've known there. And we're going to ask questions in a minute. But understanding from an 8 to a 9. Thank you, Karen. Anybody else? Any takers? Well, based on your number you put there, 8 to a 9, says Sam. Thank you, Sam, right? From a 5 to an 8.5, says Tanya. 9 to 10, says Angela, right? 7 to a 9. Just on that little bit of information, right? 9 to 10, says Kathy. Thank you, Kathy, right? This is what I'm trying to say is own your story, learn how to tell it, and understand that we're all curious people. But at the same time, humans in general, it's all about what's in it for me, right? I'm speaking in general. There's not everybody's like that, but saying most people, it's all about what's in it for me. From a recruiter's point of view, right? I need to put someone in there so I get my commission. From a HR person, I need to find the right person to put shortlist and give it in there. It's a process. Thank you. Need to take it for a test run. Most definitely, Tanya. Brilliant. Right? So when you understand that most people are thinking, what's in it for me? You change the game when it's like, I hear you. I understand your problems. I was like, come on. In business, we don't know what the customer wants. Here, you get a cheat sheet to tell you this is what the hiring manager wants, right? And again, I'm talking about customer focus here. Understand your customers. You have a cheat sheet that tells you what they want, right? Give it to them, right? Give the best of you up front. As humans, yes, here's how I can help you. As humans, what normally happens sometimes, we tend to keep the ace up our sleeve. We tend to save the best for last. And I said, on a recruitment process, on a resume, we don't have that much time to give the best of us. And if you use the job description as your anchor to say, these are their problems, this is what I've done in the past that relates to what you need, okay? And once you've done this several times, you have enough stories that you can tailor and move around to make the recruitment process quicker, faster, and easier for you, and at the same time, making it easier for the hiring manager as well, okay? So thank you for that. So here's another question for you all. Besides the job search perspective, the job search process, right? How can this process, put your thinking caps on, how can this help a manager and a company overall? What do you think? Knowing this, if the candidates know this on the job search, right? How can it help a manager? And some of you are managers, I know in here, and a company overall. Any ideas? If you had candidates that knew their worth and knew their value, yes, it's great for the job search process, but how else can it help a company? Saves time, says Kathy, right? Saves time for everybody. Save time for you as a candidate, morale. Thank you, Karen. Happy people work better. Thank you, Miranda, right? You can use it in other situations, most definitely, right? What other situations that most candidates and most people and most hiring managers need to do with their people every single, I don't know, whether it's every annually or every 6 months, right? Some people do it every, right? Performance reviews. Thank you, Jessica, right? Performance reviews. You guys will have the stories, right, within a company itself. Makes a huge difference. You know, I don't know about you, but when I used to do it, I hated performance reviews, right? Evaluate development opportunities. Thank you, Kathy, right? I hated performance reviews. Okay, and as a manager, I had to do performance review for staff that didn't want to do performance reviews because they didn't know how to do it either, right? So sometimes I say it's like the blind leading the blind because I didn't know how to do it either when I was doing it, right? So what I want to say to all of you is this, you know, great answers and thank you. I want you guys to imagine, right? Just imagine for a second the recruitment process for you hiring managers out there that have to review resumes, right? How easier would your life be if everyone's resume come in and they gave you the best of you up front, and you didn't have to try and read between the lines and connect the dots and, okay, they did this, and how's that transferring to what we need? How much time would you save? How much more fun the process is that you're reviewing people based on what they've done rather than anything else, right? Imagine performance reviews, both for you as the hiring manager or you as the person doing the performance reviews as well. Working with people that understand their value, understand their worth, and understand how it helps the company's bottom line. Now, for for managers out there, imagine a team where everyone was doing this. How easy would your performance reviews be, but how easy would it be to upsell your candidates and what the team's doing to our senior managers? Because we have to manage upwards as well. And it's like, my guy's great, and this is why, and this is how much money they saved, and this is how much money they brought in, right? Because what normally happens is the people that are good at these things are the ones that are going to move on anyway. Regardless of what we do, they're going to move on anyway. And we're stuck with the people that would like to do something else, but they don't know how sometimes as well, right? Team morale as a whole. We have this process that's mandatory in most companies out there in terms of performance review. And they're talking about the value, and everyone's talking about the value they bring to the table and how much money they saved and processes, and improvement, and they're all problem solvers. And that's just your team. Now, when you imagine the whole company doing this, exactly the same people and the same process, that there's nothing new you're bringing in. All you're doing is just teaching them how to tell their story better and how it relates to the company's bottom line. Imagine the whole company doing that. Huh? And like I said, I've had from a 7 to a 9.5 and all these things in here, and this is from a small session. And the simple session, but sometimes the most simple stuff is the most powerful things. Okay, and I'm just checking out the time out there. And from a hiring manager's perspective, I get it. I've worked in different roles and some terrible roles as well, and some really, really great roles. Okay, I've seen both sides. And exactly, succession planning so much easier. Thank you, Karen. Right, and you can see who's waiting to go. And from a hiring manager's perspective, we might think, oh, but if I show my people how to do this, they might leave. I say they're going to leave anyway. The great ones are going to leave because they're the ones invested in themselves anyway, right? But for those people that think like that, what I want to say is, this is one of my favorite quotes from Richard Branson. Oops. And he says, train people well enough so they can leave, but treat them well enough that they don't want to. Okay? It's a thing, it's how you look after your teams. Why would they want to leave? Yes, they can get better jobs, but some of us know how toxic some places are. All the money in the world and everything, why would you want to be there? Okay. What I'm saying is, treat them well. Treat them well, inspire them, empower them, and they don't want to go anywhere else anyway. So again, thank you very much to everyone. And like I said, just look for me, James Tomasi Kennedy on LinkedIn. I put in the Tomasi there on purpose because there's so many James Kennedys in the world, right? But there's only one James Tomasi Kennedy, and there is method to the madness, everyone, okay? So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and being here. And I've, one point, yes, I've run it to 15 minutes past. So this is your time now. You got 15 minutes of me. Give me your questions. What do you got for me?
So
Don't be shy.
if you have a question, use the reaction button to raise your hand, or you can simply add it to the chat box and we'll let James know. So who has a question for James?
Give me some good ones. Come on, give me the juicy ones. I like the fun ones.
So James, I have a question for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about the work that you've been doing for Thurman Co. and how that has worked into uh, uh, reviewing resumes and so forth?
Yes. Okay, that's a great question, Angela. So for those of you that don't know, Angela is a former client of mine, and she was struggling after she got laid off to tell her story. And when I read Angela's story, it's like, Angela, what are you talking about? This is amazing, right? So we played around with some words, and crazy thing happened. She started getting interviews, and then she took a contract role and she set up her own company. And then I just touched base with her about 6 months later. I think it was, Angela, you correct me. And I was like, hey, Angela, how's it going? And she says to me, it's going great, but I'm having to turn work down. I'm thinking, what do you mean you're having to turn work down? You're your own company. Go and get some more project managers to come and help with the company. And she says to me, why don't I think of that? You can come along with my HR director. And it's like, okay, I'll come along and do that. So this is how I got along with Angela, and helping to find project managers for Thurman Co. And what was happening was, going back into the recruitment side again, to the HR, excuse me, HR side again, is that she put out a job advert out there, and I think it was 2 days, Angela, or something, and we had about 50 resumes come in. I was like, okay, turn it off, that's enough. And I was looking at resumes, and there was about 50 resumes. I'm telling you now, that's 2 of the most painful hours reviewing resumes that I'll never ever get back again. And from those pain points, it's like, okay, there's got to be another way to do this. There's got to be another way to do this. Right? How can I make it easier to make sure that Angela gets the right project manager to come in, but also make the process easier? So I run free workshops. This is a big part of it, but I run free workshops every couple of months, and the next one's in September. And Karen's come along to see some of the madness that I do in some of these workshops as well, just to give information out there to help people. And from this, I've had people all over the world land jobs just from a free workshop. I was like, that's great, go there. So for me, and in terms of what I'm doing is, I'm working on not just helping the candidates, Angela, but how can I help companies in the recruitment side and help them to, put a vetting process before the recruitment process happens, where people that show up that want to help themselves, right? Because for me personally, the easy apply button on LinkedIn is one of the worst features ever. Because anyone can just go and easy apply. And what happens is, from the candidate side, sometimes it's like, oh, 200 people already applied, or looks like 200 people already applied. Because sometimes they say on LinkedIn, if you look at it, it counts as an application. So the people that really can do the job and want to get put off with so many applicants. So for me, is how can we do a vetting process in between to teach people, and whether they get the job or not, because you can't hire everyone as much as we'd love to. How can we empower them to know how their story, to tell their story, and that they still get a job somewhere else? All right. And for me, that's what I'm doing. And what Angela's saying as well is, yes. Yeah, so Angela, does that help answer your question? Sorry, I went into a bit of a ramble there.
Yes, that helps a lot. Thank you. So Tanya has a question. How can you convey the need for company or job changes because an organizational role does not fit either personally, professionally, or mentally without sounding biased or negative?
So how can you convey the need for company job changes because an organization role does not fit? And work with me here. I'm looking at the question, and is the question, is this Tanya, add in the chat as well, are you whether it's you or somebody else, are you looking to justify what's the word, why are you leaving a job? Sorry, I'm just trying to understand the question better.
Yes.
So justify how you're leaving a job. So when I speak to people, I say, don't make it negative. I say to people, I'm looking for new, I'm looking to expand. And you know, I say, like, I can say, look, I've been here for X number of years. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to go into bigger and better things, right? So rather than focus on why you're leaving, focus on what you want and how that connects with the company. It's the same story, but we're focusing on why you're a good fit for that company rather than talk the story about why you're leaving the old company. Does that help?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
James, I have a question from Kalpana.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying that correctly. Not everything we do can be translated to money. So how do you highlight those achievements?
Okay, lovely, right? Because a lot of people here is not in sales. And I want to say to this, let's talk about process improvements, right? Let's talk about process improvements. If a process takes an hour, normally, and you reduce it down to 30 minutes, that's a 50% efficiency saving. And no, we're not talking about money, but a 50% process improvement translates into money. Does that make sense? Right? So like I said, it's something as simple as a process improvement. And how do you, the end-to-end process, or for example, if a document is 10 pages and you reduced it down to 1 page, you've optimized that process by 90%. Okay. And I talked about in percentages because like 90% is relative. Okay. It's 10 pages down to 1 page is 90%, but 90% for a company is like, wow. Right? Because everything we're doing is to get you in the door. So I use percentages as much as I can, because percentages, whatever percentage you do, it connects them to their problems and what percentages means for them. Does that help, Karen?
Not sure, Kalpana, did that answer your question?
You know,
Yes,
James,
thank you.
James, that is an excellent example, because let's say that you are doing an optimization of file storage space. Well, cloud storage space costs money. So
Yeah.
there is eventually a true cost savings, although you may measure it in file storage, bytes or number of pages saved, something like that. But it does eventually have a true cost savings too,
Yeah.
although we may not know what that is. So
Yeah.
that's an excellent example. Thank you.
And Angela, what I want to add to that as well is, sometimes we have to think about the process, not just for ourselves, but both for the team and the company as a whole, right? So if you improve a process by, say, an hour to 30 minutes or 50%, but now if it's 50% efficiency optimization on that process for every single time that transaction happens, on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, on an annual basis. If you think that way and you say, right, so, this 50% process is saving the company 100K a year, right? Because you went from, this is what it is for this one process, but we do this process 100 times a day, times by the week, times by the month, times for the year. This is how much, right? Because everything we do, it's not just a one-on-one. It's not just me and one person. You're saving your time. You're saving your colleagues' time. You're saving time with the other different departments as well that feed into it and feed out into that process, right? It saves everybody time. So I said, think about how that process fits into the bigger picture as well.
Excellent point.
We have another question from Jessica. What are common mistakes you see introverts make in the job search or application process that may be different than how extroverts behave?
Wow, that's a great question. That was a great question. So what, me as an introvert, so this is speaking for me personally, right? What normally happens when we have low self-confidence, we want to highlight the things that are wrong with us. Oh, by the way, yes, I can help you, but I've never done that process before. Yes, I can help you, but I'm not 100% of that, right? We almost want to reassure them of our weaknesses when we're going into interviews, right? And my question and what I've learned along the way as well, how confident in someone if they were speaking to you like that, right? because confidence sells. And I'm talking about authentic confidence here, but I say focus on what you can do, right? And there's the perfectionist in all of us as well that wants to check and tick every single box of everything we've done, right? And I say, we're not going to check every box, but what we can do is focus on our strengths and focus on what we can do for the job, because that's the only thing we can control. And sometimes is we self-sabotage ourselves when we talk about our weaknesses. Focus on your strengths. And the way the key achievement works is to highlight the best of you as to why they need to bring you in for an interview. Does it answer the question? I hope.
Jessica? Yes, thanks for the input. One introvert to another.
Yay! And as you're looking at questions, what I want to say to all of you there, right? What I want to say to all of you, being an introvert is a superpower. Because we're the people that don't just jump in head first. We're the people that's going to, observe and see what's going on. And we're going to give a measured response every time we speak. All right? There's a pros and cons of being an introvert, but that's something as an introvert that we see everything and connect before we put ourselves forward. But the flip side of that, I was just saying, is if we wait too long for the right moment, it will never come, right? So that's the other part of waiting and waiting and waiting for the right moment. It never happens, right? So we got to take to make a decision and take your shot, regardless. And for those of you out there, if you look at a job description, stop focusing on the one or two things that you don't have. If you've got 8 or 9, focus on that and give them the best of you. Because I want to hire you and hire people based on the best of them rather than what they can't do. We can't do anything about the things we can't do. So take the story to your strengths.
Excellent point. Thank you. Thank you, James. I think
Any more?
We have time for one more question. If anyone has anything else they want to ask James before we sign off. James, do you have any final comments?
So first off, I'm saying it's just been a pleasure. Thank you again for WIM for allowing me and to do here and just share this all with you. I hope you found it useful, and also at the same time, as someone that loves to speak and help, me and listening to my sound of the voice doesn't matter. For me, it's all about the feedback. If it's helpful, and Karen's going to send some information after, I'd love some feedback, right? If this has been useful, things that I can do better the next time. Right? Because we're all human, we're not perfect or anything. Anything I can do better, anything that you enjoy, just let me know as well. And as I go on this mission to help more people land better and dream jobs that you all deserve. Right? So thank you very much, and a pleasure to be here with all of you.
Well, thank you, James. And thank you everyone for joining today. It has been a pleasure having you here. And thank you for joining our WIM Texas Lunch and Learn with James Tomasi Kennedy. Hopefully you found value in this event. And James, it has been a pleasure having you join us today, all the way from Brighton, UK. We appreciate your enthusiasm. You obviously love what you do, and helping people is your mission. Karen, did you have any closing comments you'd like to make? No.
No, ma'am. I was actually doing a party message on the chat.
Okay, thank you so much. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll let you return to your busy days, and please look forward to other events from WIM Texas coming to you every month. And thank you again so much for joining us today, and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.